So I had a lot of questions yesterday about how I do painting with kindergarten on the first day. So I'm going to give you a rundown of that as I get things ready, but I wanted to show you where I hang things up when they're done. And you'll get the gist as I explain it, but I basically just tape them up wherever they'll fit because I use really big papers. But I'm going to take you through how I do that with kindergarten on the very first day they come. Okay, I'm actually in a super big hurry because I have to get to carpool and I have a meeting during my planning today, so I probably shouldn't be making this video, but yellow. I have these big pieces of bulletin board paper that I cut last week, and so I'm going to sit them out, and the first step I'm going to do is write the kids' names. Okay, so I'm in a hurry, so I hope I can finish this before carpool. What I did was write all the kids' names on these big papers. It took me like 4 minutes because I have my seating chart, and I highly recommend making a seating chart. I do boy-girl. So the only way my classroom works is if the class before sets up for the class that's coming. So I'll explain that. I have second grade before kindergarten, so while second grade is cleaning up their huge mess they made, they're also setting up for kindergarten in that same time. So 2 or 3 kids from each table are cleaning, and then 2, 1, however many kids are left are setting up for the next class. So I have actually colors on each table and numbers. So everybody has a job. Number 1 is in charge of paint, number 2 is in charge of water cups, whatever. So I just call, number 3, go clean all the brushes and put them wherever. And so when second grade cleans up, I put these big papers down for kindergarten, like while they're cleaning up. So second grade's still in here while I'm setting up for kindergarten. So obviously, I put the red paper on the red table, orange paper on the orange table, and I put an arrow so I know which way is the front of the room, so I make sure I set them in the right spot. And so I do that, and earlier, like right now before carpool, is when I write those names, and I also do the paint. I did not wash these yesterday, but the paint's still kind of wet anyway. So what I'll do is during the day-to-day as kids are cleaning up, I squirt the colors that kindergarten's going to use into the plates. And so when kindergarten comes in, they are sitting here. I don't have them sit in their seats. They sit here on the blanket, and I only go over 3 rules. The first day I go over my hand is up, and that is K5 for me. I say my hand is up. Everybody raises their hands and gets quiet. So that's the first rule I go over. The second thing I go over is treasure box, because that's just the world we live in. They want rewards. So each class has to earn 10 stars to get to treasure box, and it has like erasers and stickers and tattoos and stuff in it. So I tell them, they've got to be really good so we can get stars, so we can all go to the prize box, and then they're all excited and they want to do really well. Then the third thing I go over is talking while I'm talking, because that's the hardest thing I have with kindergarten. They just want to tell me all of their stories. So those are the 3 rules I go over while they're sitting there, and then we watch just a YouTube video I found of somebody reading The Dot, the book The Dot, and so we watch that, and after that I show them some Kandinsky paintings, and we talk about circles and dots, and who thinks they can paint circles and dots, raise your hand. And then while they're sitting on the blanket, well, not the blankets, while they're sitting on the rugs, I call them over to their tables. So I go to red table and I call them one at a time, and it's super easy because their names are right there. So I just call them over, and when they come on the stools, the second graders actually put one of our paint smocks, so those big t-shirts that I have. So when they walk over, there's a shirt already laying on their stool. They put it on and they put their head down, and so that's the first step that they do. They just go to their chair, put on their paint shirt, and put their head down. Once I have everyone in their seats, I do my hand is up. They all raise their hand, And then I actually made a video of myself giving the directions for painting, so I'm gonna sit the camera down. So I actually, in the video, I say, like, everybody hold your hands like this. We're gonna paint circles this big. And I show them how to use the paint in the video. So then I'm playing a video and they just pay more attention during a video. This is the example that I have hanging up. Obviously, theirs does not look like that, but that's the example I have, and in the video I show how to paint it, and we talk about circles and dots and different sizes, and I only give them colors that mix well together on the plate together. So the first plate I give them is the warm colors and white, so they can make pink, and they do mix them, and I don't care. So it's fine with me. They get a kick out of, oh my gosh, white and red make pink. And so the first plate I give them has these colors, and I give them each a paintbrush, and I actually sit all the plates out on this really old overhead cart. So I just roll it around, and I have this big can of brushes, so I just hand them a brush, I hand them a plate for the table. They paint with those colors, and then I count down when I think it's time to change colors. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. When I get to 0, they have to hold their paintbrush in the air. I come to their table and I stick their paintbrush, this is still from yesterday, I stick their paintbrush in this water cup, this big water cup. All the middle school teachers just cringed because I didn't wash those paintbrushes. So I stick their brush in the water cup, I hand them a new brush, then I give them the second plate of colors. These are almost all mixed, but I give them blue, yellow, and green on the next plate. So then they have new brushes. They don't have to wash their brush. It doesn't matter if they mix, because obviously yellow and blue makes green. I do the same thing. I let them paint some circles and dots. I go around and compliment them on how awesome they are. And then I count down again, and they hold their brush up on 0, and then I grab their brush, put it in the water cup, give them a new brush, and give them a plate that has magenta, turquoise, and purple on it. Again, those colors can mix, and they don't make brown. That's how I've gotten no brown this year so far, is by giving them the plates of colors. So that's how I prep for it. So while they're painting with the first plates, while they're painting with these, I just load up the little overhead cart with the next colors, and I have the paintbrushes on there already, so I just push it around like a flight attendant. I just roll this cart around, and I'm like, oh, I'm coming to the quietest table to give you your next colors. And then they're holding their brush up really quiet, and I take their brushes, put them in the water cup, which everything's on here, the paintbrushes, the water cup, the paint, everything. And I just roll this cart around and give them their stuff. Because, I mean, nobody uses these anymore, right? So I got it from the library, but that's how I do the prep. And then when it's time to clean up, they hold their brush up, I take their paint, I take their brushes, and when I go to their table, I untape the big paper, so the big paper right there. I take their paper, and when I take the paper from their table, they are allowed to put their paint shirt in the bucket. So that's where our little paint shirts go. So they can put their paint shirt in the bucket, they can go rinse their hands with water. They can't reach the soap, so they don't use it. They rinse their hands with water, and then they go sit down with their heads down. The quietest table gets a little prize the first day, which is, you know, a tiny eraser or a sticker or something. Sometimes the whole class is awesome, so I give them all a sticker. But I tell them I'm listening for the quietest table. And so I take the paper and I tape it up like it was taped up around the room earlier. So I just tape it on the wall wherever it'll fit. And then when 5th grade is after kindergarten, and when 5th grade comes, they obviously get their own supplies because kindergarten cannot prep for the next class. And then when 5th grade cleans up, they clean up from kindergarten too. So they wash the brushes, which they didn't yesterday, but they usually wash the brushes and, you know, wash the tables where the kindergartners got paint and stuff. So that is how I do kindergarten on the first day. This video is so long. I didn't think it was going to be so long, but now I have to get a carpool. That's how I prep. It really doesn't take that long because I do the big papers before carpool, and then the paint I really do during the day so it doesn't dry out. So like while a class is working, after I've walked around, I just come over here and I squirt the paint. Or if a kid finishes early, I have them squirt it. And then the brushes, kids are using them all day. So just when second grade comes, they put all of their brushes in the big can so that they're ready for kindergarten. And that's how I get ready. And one last thing, maybe you're wondering what I'm going to do with those big papers. I cut them up, kind of, paper size. And next time they come, they're going to be making outer space. So cutting out, I'm going to have some circles cut out, and then they'll cut around the circles they drew if they're not too big. So that's what they're going to do with the big papers. They'll practice cutting and gluing, and then we won't waste that big paper that they painted on. So that's it.